Good morning. It's Monday, September 29th, National Coffee Day. And on National Coffee Day, you get free stuff from places like Dunkin' and Krispy Kreme and Starbucks. What kind of stuff? I don't know. They don't pay me to tell you that, but still, if you're already going over there, you might as well get something free out of it. And now, the news. We start how we start here in America, with two mass shootings leading the news. Starting in Michigan, where at least 4 people are dead and 8 others have been injured after 40-year-old suspect Thomas Jacob Sanford, who was killed by police, drove his car through a Mormon church about 60 miles north of Detroit. Once inside the church, he opened fire. Officials say there were hundreds of people in attendance at the time of the shooting. The church was also set on fire, which is believed to have been intentional. This all happened just hours before I hit record. Investigators are going to search the suspect's home and cell phone recordings for a motive. Just horrific, absolutely horrific. The night prior in North Carolina, at least 3 people were killed and 5 others were injured after a boat parked outside of a waterfront bar and restaurant around 9:30 p.m. And then, from the boat, a suspect named Nigel Max Edge fired shots at the restaurant before fleeing on the same boat. He was caught by the U.S. Coast Guard and is currently being held. In all, over the weekend, nationwide, at least 73 people were killed and 166 people were injured by guns. Those 2 mass shootings were the 323rd and 324th mass shootings of the year. This is the 272nd day of the year. In a statement released on Friday, Doctors Without Borders announced that they have been forced to suspend their work in Gaza because it has become too dangerous to work there. It has become too dangerous to work there. They were able to work through everything else, but now it is too dangerous. Quote, "We have been left with no choice but to stop our activities as our clinics are encircled by Israeli forces," end quote. According to Jacob Granger, the Doctors Without Borders emergency medical coordinator, last week alone, the clinic treated more than 1,600 people for malnutrition. This news comes as Israeli forces continue their attack on Gaza City in the 2 weeks since this new attack began, though to be clear, it's not like Israeli Defense Forces were taking it easy on Gaza before. They're stepping it up now. 57 people have been killed in Gaza City alone. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the UN on Friday that Israel, quote, "must finish the job in Gaza." His visit was not well received, as I'm sure you would imagine, with more than 100 diplomats from 50 countries walking out as Netanyahu walked in. Meanwhile, on Sunday, Trump said the peace deal to end the Israel-Hamas war is in its, quote, "final stages," saying, quote, "all of the countries within the region are involved. Hamas is very aware of these discussions, and Israel has been informed at all levels, including Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu," end quote. Uh-oh. Hang on. Let's parse some language here. Let's do some critical thinking. Are they involved, or do they just know about it? Because that quote sounds like they just know about it. He also said, quote, "everybody has to come together to get a deal, but we still have to get it done," end quote. How close are we actually to a peace deal? What do you actually have? An idea? Did you jot some thoughts down there? Buddy, did you find a crayon and an Applebee's menu and write, "be nice to each other," and then like lines underneath for both sides to sign? I want a peace deal. I'm just saying, his language, if we parse his language, Not that I ever really go by his language, but that doesn't sound... I don't feel optimistic by his language, is what I'm trying to say. I want an adult in the room. I want an adult to also tell me that we're close, is what I'm, that's what I'm going for here. But what about things here in America? Let's take a look at the, quote, war-ravaged and truly chilling city of Portland, Oregon, which Donald Trump has decided that he is finally going to get under control. Hide your books is a joke that I wrote before I realized it's not funny because that is a real concern. Quote, I am directing Secretary of War, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary, end quote. I'll note that an ICE facility was under attack in Texas, but that state's red, so he's not going to do anything about it. ICE facilities shouldn't be under attack, but if you're going to protect one, go for the one that was under attack. But that state's red. Let me actually give you a very chilling quote that Trump gave last week while talking to reporters in the Oval. We're going to get out there and do a big number on those people in Portland, end quote. As has been the case in every city he's done this, violent crime is down in Portland. But again, why let facts get in the way of hostile government takeover? Unlike every other city he's done this in, this mayor, the mayor of Portland, is white. That's neither here nor there, but I'm just noting that this is the first city that he has done this in where the mayor isn't black. That's something. Oregon's governor and attorney general joined with Portland's mayor to sue the Trump administration, hoping to be in front of a judge within a week. Trump invoked Title 10 to send troops to Portland. The invocation of Title 10 is how he lost his court case in California because, as a reminder, it is the section of the U.S. Code that specifically says the president can federalize the National Guard when, quote, the United States or any of the commonwealths or possessions is invaded or is in danger of invasion by a foreign nation, there is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States, end quote. Trump lost his suit in California because he never said the state was in danger of a rebellion. He literally never said the word rebellion. Because again, in California, in Los Angeles, we were fine. Not a rebellion to be seen. Now, not only is Portland not in danger of a rebellion, but the man's never learned a lesson in his life. So the big question of this case will once again be, did someone say rebellion? But while we keep an eye on hostile government takeover, we need to continue to be just as loud as ever about the ICE raids. On Friday, Ian Roberts, the superintendent of Iowa's largest school district in Des Moines, was detained by ICE as agents say that he was in the country illegally and had existing weapon possession charges. Roberts, who, by the way, fun fact about Roberts, he was an Olympic athlete, is, yes, from Guyana, which is where he competed in the Olympics. The Department of Homeland Security said that he had a loaded handgun, a hunting knife, and $3,000 in cash at the time of his arrest. The weapons charge was related to a hunting rifle and was disclosed when he was hired. The knife that he allegedly had was a hunting knife. His arrest has spurred a protest outside of a federal courthouse. I expect we'll learn more about this today when the courthouse opens for work. For what it's worth, the school district is highly disputing the picture that the Department of Homeland Security is trying to paint of Roberts. Proving there is no rock bottom to how fueled by petty and First Amendment hate this administration is, about 20 FBI agents were fired on Friday. Their crime? Being photographed kneeling during Black Lives Matter protests in 2020. which was believed to be by some at that moment actually a de-escalation tactic more than anything else. And then their comment about that was, this administration strongly condemns de-escalation. Yuck! We want to escalate as many times as possible. And as soon as I know what that word means, I'm probably going to agree. That's an impression of somebody in the administration, I guess. I don't know who it's supposed to be, but it's probably accurate. The FBI Agents Association put out a great statement, though, as they asked Congress to investigate these firings. Quote, "Leaders uphold the law. They don't repeatedly break it. They respect due process rather than hide from it. Patel's dangerous new pattern of actions are weakening the Bureau because they eliminate valuable expertise and damage trust between leadership and the workforce, and make it harder to recruit and retain skilled agents, ultimately putting our nation at greater risk." In response, congressional Republicans said, "Oof, oh, yikes, that sounds bad. Someone should do something about it." Not us, obviously, but oof, someone should get on that. Now we're getting closer to the 30th. Now we're getting closer to the shutdown. Arguably, today is really, really close. Now we can kind of talk about it, really. Nothing changed over the weekend. Right now it's still all political sound bites. Trump won't negotiate. The Republicans need the Democrats. The Democrats need to do something because of how we're in fascism. So they should probably at least try to stop it. So everyone's in a pickle. It's Monday. Tomorrow is the 30th. We'll see what today brings. They have until, just so you know, they have until the midnight on the 30th before the government shuts down, or there is yet another extension. So we'll see what today brings. One thing the weekend did bring, at least, was a small amount of clarity regarding this meeting, which sounds like it could have been, and frankly would have been safer as, an email that Pete Hegseth called for tomorrow in Quantico. First, we know Trump will attend. And second, this huge meeting is going to be, according to Trump, just a, quote, nice meeting, talking about how well we're doing militarily, talking about being in great shape, talking about a lot of good, positive things, end quote. You're bringing generals and admirals in from all over the world to tell them, good job? Either that's an incredible waste of our money, or a lot, or I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. We'll see what tomorrow brings. And finally, Eric Adams. Eric Adams is dropping his bid to be the next mayor of New York City. Oh no, Eric! Oh no, I'm shocked. You had such a good chance of winning. As you may recall, Mr. Ethics, who has spent his time as mayor just enjoying being accused of crime after crime, was discussing an ambassadorship to Saudi Arabia if he dropped out and told people to vote for Andrew Cuomo, who lost in the Democratic primary and then was like, oh, I just remembered, all of a sudden, I forgot. I'm an independent. Whoops-a-daisies. And now he's still in the race running as an independent. Apparently, the ambassadorship talks fell through, but he is still dropping out of the race. So he's not going to be an ambassador, but he's still dropping out of the race. And in his announcement, he found a way to blame the media. Me? What did this very popular No, I'm just kidding. I'm not the media. I'm just Kim. So he blamed the media and then said voters should treat both Mondani and Cuomo with suspicion. I don't know. This dude sucks. He was never not terrible, start to finish. Started bad, and then at the end, he was like, even though Republicans are doing fascism, you gotta treat both of the other candidates that are very different as if they're the same and also bad. Everyone's bad. I'm Eric Adams, and my politics are very confusing. And that's it. That's the news. I'm proud of coffee. This was recorded without any. I record at night. Every episode is recorded without coffee. It's all worn out. By then, what do you think about that? But more than coffee, because just the very thought of you gives me all the energy I need. I'm proud of you.